Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're out at the range with something I'm really excited about. The rifle that I have in my hands I've had for a few weeks now, before SHOT Show anyway, and it's something that I've been urging the AR15 manufacturing community to do for a couple of years now. And what that something is to manufacture a full line of retro rifles, or rifles that are representative of early AR-15s versus the latest and greatest in tactical accessories. Now, I'm not saying I don't like the latest and greatest in AR-15s. That's what I use as an everyday gun right now. It's my truck gun. But there's something just fun about going out to the range and not having a red dot sight or a magnified optic and a light on it and hand stops and all that stuff, but going out and shooting a classic original like this Brownells 601. And that's exactly what this is, guys. This is a replica of the first rifle that Colt produced for the U.S. military. It was for the Air Force, believe it or not, and it was called the 601, and it would be known in the civilian world as the AR-15. This rifle is a pretty darn close copy of the original Air Force 601 rifle. It's about 97% of the way there for the extreme purist out there, but for folks out there like me that just want something that's a very close facsimile of the original rifles, this is exactly what I've been looking for. And we'll talk about those features in a little bit more detail later in the video. But I wanted to open the video by firing the first 20 rounds out of this little waffle magazine. Brownells sells these as well, and one does come with the rifle. And this is a retro magazine that goes nicely with the rifle. We're shooting some Freedom Munitions 55 grain ball, and we want to thank them for donating the ammunition to the channel. We do have a discount code down below for 6% off. The code is MAC, and it's good for anything in their store, and I receive no kickbacks from you using that code. All right, guys, let's go ahead and charge the rifle. It has an original style triangle charging handle, which actually feels surprisingly good. Charge the rifle and fire off these first 20 rounds. All right, let's take a closer look at the 601 replica. Let's take a look at the 601 replica and talk about some of the historical accuracies and some of the areas that aren't 100% historically accurate. Like I said, this gun is 97% the way there, maybe a little bit further. So let's start off on the rear end of the 601 rifle. First, you take a look at the butt plate. You'll notice there's no trapdoor and horizontal lines. This is historically accurate. It looks the part. Moving forward, we have the rear sling swivel that has a roll pin that you won't see on modern AR-15s through the stock. Again, that's historically accurate for the 601. The furniture itself is green, which is historically accurate. The only difference between this and the actual Colt rifle that was manufactured, the polymer would have been made brown, would have been colored brown, the actual material itself, and then Colt would have painted over it to make it green. But this is pretty close. You do have a little bit of flashing on the top, which isn't that big of a deal. And that's just from the mold for the polymer. I thought I'd point it out. Moving forward, we have the correct pistol grip. Once again, the profile is correct. The green is, it's cast in green or injection molded in green. And then as we move up, we take a look at our selector lever. Here we have a horizontal mark on the selector lever, which would be something you would find in later rifles. The original would have had a simple dimple there, just in the middle of it. On the push pin on the rear, this one's round like a modern pin. The originals would have had a small dimple in them as well. I don't know why. You're not going to be pushing them across that way, but in pictures that I found of the original 601s, these two would have been dimpled. Again, a minor point in my opinion, but some of the AR-15 guys out there get so crazy about historical accuracies. I want to point out some of the few that are on this rifle, and I'm probably not even getting to all of them. But moving forward, you notice we have no forward assist and we have a slab side receiver. All of this would be historically correct. We have the adjustable sight here, which would be correct for the rifle, the 601, and then we have the triangle, not the T-handle, but the triangle charging handle, which is, once again, historically correct and actually kind of fun to play with. This is the first rifle I've ever shot that had this triangle charging handle. I kind of like the way that it feels. And then moving forward, we'll talk about the magazine release. I'm going to drop the magazine out. The magazine release on the original rifles would have had horizontal cuts in it. This one has the circular cuts of a later model of the Colt rifles. But again, this is a very minor point. I'm only pointing this out because some of the purists out there are going to say, "Oh, Mac, you know, you're not pointing out the obvious flaws," because the AR-15 community can be very, very particular about their rifles. We do have a slab side, as I had noted before, but right here we have a cross. This cross is 100% historically accurate for the 601. And because we do not have fencing, which is correct, we don't have a captive takedown pin in the front. That pin will come all the way out. Again, that is correct for this rifle. The one thing that we're going to notice is that this has an A2 port cover, which is not correct for the rifle. It should be, you know, an early Colt SB1 type port cover that's flat, but it's kind of nice because it holds it up at a slight angle, which makes it easier for you to grab with your finger and push closed. But the original would have been flat. It wouldn't be raised like the A2 is. And then inside we have that chromed carrier, which is 100% correct for this rifle, and it's really cool to see. Moving up towards the slip ring, it is just a stand non-tapered slip ring, which would be correct for the rifle. And I'm going to take the handguards off here really fast. These guys are also heat shielded, which they should be. So you can see the heat shielding on the rifles. You can see the profile, lightweight profile of the barrel. And this barrel does have a 1 in 12 twist. It is chrome lined. So the original 601 would have had a 1 in 14 twist, which was quickly changed to 1 in 12 in the later rifles that Colt would produce. Moving forward to the front sight block, some of you guys are going to say it's not 100% correct, and you would be right, but it's a really, really close facsimile and one of those things that doesn't really pop out at me. Has a bayonet lug, and then of course we have the 3-prong duckbill flash suppressor. That is 100% historically accurate and looks really good on the rifle. Kind of completes that 601 look. I'm going to go ahead and put the handguards aside. I've already showed you guys the 20-round waffle magazine that it comes with. Again, that is correct for the rifle. Now let's take a look inside the gun. I'm going to grab a 5.56 round. I'm going to push this pin across, and it would be dimpled on the correct rifle. On this one it is not. That pin would have a little dimple in it for the tip of a bullet. This one's just flat like a later production cross pin. When you hinge the rifle open, we take out the guts, and we have a chromed bolt and carrier, which is correct. It has a blued T-pin across there, which is correct. It does have a standard AR-15 firing pin. The original 601 had a different profile to the firing pin. This one does not have that original 601 firing pin, probably because nobody makes them. And there's our triangle-shaped charging handle. Over here on this side of the rifle, I'll point out a few things. The selector lever it looks pretty close. It looks pretty close to the part. I did mention that the takedown pin does not have a dimple in it, which it should. If you take a look at the ping pong paddle, this is a later model ping pong paddle. The original 601 would not have this hook on the end of it. You would find that in later SP1 Colt rifles and M16s and M16A1s and stuff. So the early prototype and the 601s did not have that profile to it. A minor historical inaccuracy, but the front pin has the dimple in it, which is correct. Over here on the selector side, you should have a dimple there as well. You should have a dimple there, but they actually do have the dimple here, which I'm going to go ahead and take the rifle apart. I'll show you how that pin works. So the rear pin here is captive. The front pin is not because of the lack of fencing, and it's flat on its head, which is correct. And now we've stripped the rifle down. Inside, you're going to find just standard M16 components. I'm not sure what the original 601 would have looked like on the inside, but just currently, this would be a standard fire control group for a modern AR-15. it's noteworthy to point out that it does have a full auto carrier in it, which would be correct. I'm not going to strip the bolt down, guys, because there's no need to. It's MP tested. It's all chrome as it should be. The firing pin is the only inaccuracy I've found. It does have the staked key pin or screws, which is correct. I know you guys will be curious about that. Putting the gun back together is fairly simple. I'm going to go ahead. I think because it has a non-captive front pin, I'm going to use that rear pin to line things up front. And let's see if that works to my advantage. Put that front pin in, and it does. And now we can take that rear pin back out so we can hinge it open to put the guts back in it. Take your triangle charging handle, set it in there. Make sure your bolt's all the way forward. And she goes right back together. While I have your attention, you'll notice there's a little pinhole right here. And this is one of those little minor details that I think is really cool that Brownells included. It looks like there's a pin going across that would hold the extension tube on. That's a fake pin, but it looks the part, and it would be historically correct for the 601 rifle. It's a cool detail. The pin on the rear sling swivel and the pin here on the receiver, which you would not find in later models, is really cool that they went to that level of detail. And the only reason I think that they probably didn't have the other details 100% correct is because nobody makes the parts, right? So I'm not going to ding them on that. I think it's really cool. This is, like I said, 97% the way there. And I'm kind of glad they didn't use a 1 in 14 twist barrel. The 1 in 12 is a superior twist rate, in my opinion. And the U.S. Army agreed, because they switched to 1 in 12 as well. And then later to 1 in 7 for the A2. All right, let's get the handguards back on here. These little slip rings can be challenging at best to work with, and sometimes you just have to take your gloves off. All right. There we go. It actually goes on much easier than it looks, and it's just clumsy with the glove on. So there you guys have it. The 601, I pointed out as many of the accuracies and inaccuracies as I could, but I think overall they've done a really, really good job with the minor details as best it could be expected, and I'm happy with it. This is a great starting point for some of you guys out there that are extreme 100% purists and got to have everything exactly right. You don't have to change much on this rifle to get there. For me, I don't know. The most I might do is paint the stocks to give them a more original looking finish. Other than that, I'm going to leave it alone. I think it looks pretty darn good. We're going to put a couple of different types of magazines in the gun to see how well it functions, but I also wanted to show you this rifle next to a late 1970s built Colt. Let's see if I can do this without dropping something. SP1. Here you can see the two side by side. So the original 601 was really more or less a prototype rifle. The minute Colt got its hands on the design and was authorized to go ahead with production for the military, they started making some changes pretty early on to the rifle. You will notice that this one also has the circular cuts on the magazine release. It does have the correct, obviously, flat folding port cover. You will notice back here it does not have the pin in the sling swivel. The sling swivel is different now. And you'll also notice there's no pin here in the receiver. Again, this is a late 70s model AR15 manufactured by Colt. And then of course now we have the trapdoor for the cleaning components that the soldiers would normally have carried in the buttstock of their rifles. It's slab-sided, does not have the forward assist, and does not have the fencing around the magazine release. I just thought I'd show you the two rifles side by side so you can see what they look like. It's interesting to note that this one has CM on it that's molded into the aluminum. This one has CA on it. It's also worth noting, one thing I didn't point out already is that the markings on this rifle, obviously they can't use the Colt pony because Colt would probably not be real happy about that, but you would have a Colt pony here, and I believe it said Colt and Armalite on the 601s. I think both company names appeared on the 601s. I think these went out of production in 1963, but I've seen some pictures of these still being used by Air Force personnel, so apparently some of the early rifles are still in inventory. I would imagine, though, they've upgraded the parts where they could. The pictures I've seen, they had black furniture on them versus the green, so apparently they still give service somewhere in the United States military. All right, so we have a Pmag, a Lancer mag. This is an FN manufactured steel magazine, or maybe heavy aluminum. Feels like steel. It's probably aluminum. The waffle mag that comes with the gun, and a 20-round Pmag I've already emptied and forgot to reload. And this is the SP1 Colt magazine. This one has the cast metal follower in it, and would be correct for the SP1. So let's try them all out. Let's shoot something we haven't shot already. Some of these only have 25 rounds in them, and the 20 rounders only have 20 rounds. Let's try the Lancer 5, a magazine I like, and see how well it functions in the 601 replica. So what's kind of funny is this is a little bit slippery and rounded, and it's sliding off my shoulder, which is a slick outer shell from Blackhawk. I always forget to tell you guys what it is I'm wearing for coats. I get 100 comments in every video. What jacket are you wearing? This one is manufactured by Blackhawk, but it's real slickery, and this is sliding off my shoulder a little bit. But yeah, so it runs just fine with the Lancer. Let's try Pmag. All right, Pmag up. And the Pmag works just fine. Burning some oil off the barrel, guys. I can smell it. All right, this is the FN magazine. Came with probably one of my collector series rifles. And 100% function, and I do smell some oil burning off. The waffle mag that comes with the gun. Oh, didn't quite close. There we go. I'm just shooting dirt, guys. All right, works fine with its waffle mag that ships with it, and this is the old Colt 20 rounder. And functions just fine. So that's a pretty good sampling, and we are cooking the oil off that barrel. That's a pretty good sampling of magazines, and it's running just fine. Again, that's Freedom Munitions 55 grain ball, and yeah, that's fun. I do like this rifle. We're back at the 100-yard line, again using the same Freedom Munitions 55 grain stuff. If you guys are going to shoot a retro rifle like this, you might want to invest into a simple sight tool. It helps you to adjust your windage and your elevation. They are designed to be used with the tip of a bullet, but when you use these sight tools, it does make things quite a bit easier to make those adjustments to the rear sight. All right, so just something you guys might want to consider picking up. I believe Brownells also sells these. I've had this one for quite some time. Alrighty then, let's see what we can do at 100 yards. I think we've pretty much got the rifle zeroed for the most part. Make a hasty rest here. And we have our challenge steel target. It's a IPSC style kill zone target at 100 yards. And let's just kind of see what happens here. Well, 20 for 20. I would say this little girl shoots pretty darn good. We'll do some more shooting with it later when it warms up a little bit and we can sit out here and shoot for groups. But on a man-sized target, 100 yards, it does the trick. She's a beauty for sure. I hope you guys enjoyed coming out to the range with us and doing a little bit of shooting with the new Brownells 601 replica of a very early AR-15 rifle that was manufactured for the Air Force but wound up being used by other branches and special operations. The production of the original rifle stopped right around 1963 or 64. And yeah, it's just a cool piece of history. These rifles come to market at $12.99 or $1,300, and you can pick them up over on the Brownells.com website. I'm really looking forward to some of the other offerings that they have out there. They're teasing us with the AR-10. They list at least one of those, if not two, different versions of that. That's a bucket list item. I really, really, really want that retro build AR-10. So I look forward to getting my hands on one of those hopefully one of these days here soon, whenever they hit the market. But these are currently available and shipping, and in my opinion, this is one neat retro rifle to add to the collection. I really, really do like it. Guys, we really appreciate you supporting us for the last 10 years. That's right, 2018 marks the 10th year of the Military Arms channel, and it's because of you guys that we've made it this long and we've grown to the current size, which we greatly, greatly appreciate. If you'd like to support us here at the Military Arms channel, another great way to do that is to swing by and check us out at coppercustom.com. We have a lot of great products at great prices, plus we have a brand new auction site where we'll be auctioning off different guns, including some video guns. So again, please swing by and check us out at coppercustom.com. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Thanks for all those years of support, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Let's go home. It's cold.